Hey, BassGeek here, and today we're going to talk about choosing the right winter crankbait for the conditions. Hey geeks, so today we're going to talk about crankbaits and crankbait selection, and today is a perfect day to talk about that sort of thing. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Like, you got a lot going on today, even though it doesn't look like there's a lot going on. So just to set up this day, like, you've got clear water, falling water, really heavy overcast, which by the way is why I'm wearing my Waterland Golden Light. I believe that's what they're called. I always get that confused. But anyway, these are great in low light. Even in this clear water, you can see even deeper, so you can see just where you need to fish. And when I talk about crankbait fishing, a lot of times I'm going to target that area, unless there's a lot of cover, that I can see a white bait. A lot of times I'll pull out a little white grub or a white tube, my test tube as I call it, and I'll drop it in the water and see how far I can see it. But I'm going to target that 10 foot below that visibility. So from where I can't see it to 10 foot below, and that's where I'm going to start a lot of times. So before we get started into all that, guys, make sure you go check out my website, BassGeekFishing.com, and make sure you go to the gear selection. Go pick up a BassGeek shirt or a BassGeek hoodie for this winter or for the spring. It does help the channel, but as I always say, the best way to help the channel, be part of the 100% Watch Squad. Watch every video, watch it 100%. That is absolutely free, and it's the best way to help old BassGeek out. All right, now let's dig into this a little bit more. So what makes a good cold water crankbait? Is it flat? Is it wide wobbling like a wart? Is it, or a rock crawler? What makes a good wintertime crankbait? Well, like everything else, it's based on when you throw it and what the conditions are when you're throwing that bait. So what I really want you to do is I want you to think about crankbaits in a situational. This is what I really want you guys to start doing. Thinking about the situation more than the bait, okay? Every bait kind of shines in a different situation. And that means conditional situation, conditions. And that's when you're going to have the most success, is when you can pair up the right bait for the right conditions. So let's look at some of my favorite wintertime crankbaits, and I'm going to explain to you when I think they shine. All right, guys, first off, always store your crankbaits in a Z-Rust Flambeau box. All right, Flambeau and the Z-Rust Max is out. I'm telling you, that is going to save you money on your hooks and your split rings. So this little box right here is just a little something that I've thrown together as we talk about my favorite wintertime crankbaits. Now again, early winter, I want the shad pattern. And one of the greatest baits in the world, shout out to my buddy Joey, for wintertime, is a thin or a flat-sided crankbait. Now, the flat-sided crankbait, guys, whether it be balsa or some of the plastic like this, Berkeley's Fritz side, is an incredible little crankbait. Again, we go to Little John's. All right, again, another good flat-sided crankbait. We'll talk about some of the DT series from Rapala. And of course, you can't go without some of my favorites, the good old rock crawlers and wiggle warts. Oh, but wait, there's more. How about some of my favorites, the 300 series from Bandit? That's another great one. Look, it's a little skinnier, got a nice wide bill, but still that rounded body. And you can't go wrong with your old school balsa hand-carved crankbaits. And even a new addition, of course, is the Waterwood. Look how nice and flat that is. Great looking color there. Now, for some reason, I don't have any of the wiggle warts in here, but the rock crawlers and the wiggle warts are pretty much the same thing. Now, we can't leave out the most famous wintertime bait. That's right, I've got a whole box of them. From hand painted to au naturels, and all different sizes. These are some of the most subtle wintertime crankbaits you can ever throw. All that being said, what makes one better than the other? Simply put, it's going to come down to conditions. So let me explain a little bit about these. These types of crankbaits right here are going to have a very tight, very natural wobble when it comes to cold water. They're going to look very subtle. They're going to be very natural. They're going to get those finicky bass to bite. That also includes like this. This is your Shad Rap, your Berkeley. I don't even remember where I bought this one from, but it's a local handmade balsa wood. Again, your Waterwoods, your Spros, your Little Johns. And yes, of course, even your DTs, even though they're a little fat, they kind of fall in that middle, but they're still super subtle. They kind of fall with those bandits. Now, what I mean by bandits, this is a Bandit 300 series, guys. This is a hand painted one that I've got. You can tell they're still pretty flat. They're going to have a little bit wider wobble as opposed to the hardcore flat sides, but they're still going to be really subtle. So they're kind of that middle ground, as opposed to the rock crawlers and the wiggle warts. Really wide, really, you know, over-exaggerated wobble and hunting action. Before I even say it, you guys tell me when and where you think you should throw each one of these. Pause it right now. So we're going to talk about hard baits in general. Let's start there. So hard baits are anything. I mean, I can name a bunch of different stuff that are hard baits. Crankbaits, spinner baits, some of your top waters. That's what I'm going to call hard baits. Hard baits are definitely the crankbait category. And when I'm throwing hard baits, generally, if I'm out on a lake like today and I know I've got clear water, 5, 6, 8 feet deep of water visibility, I'm not throwing hard baits most of the time. Dead slick calm, right? Now, we can have a few things change that, and the things that are going to change are going to be things like water visibility. We can have one thing change, not a bunch, or we can have a bunch. Water visibility, once we get up and say that 2 foot or less, I might throw a crankbait. Is it sunny or is it overcast like today? Today, overcast, clear water, I might throw a crankbait, a subtle one. Color is going to matter. That's a whole different video. Cover. If we've got cover where those bass can't see it, and as you can see, bass aren't hiding in these rocks down through here. But if you've got laydowns that are down deep, brush piles where you can run that bait across them, and even in clear water with, I would still like a little bit of chop, but wind, that brings us to wind. A little bit of wind that's going to break up this clear water. That's when you're going to throw a crankbait in general. Even down to the retrieve can change the way you throw a crankbait. But let's talk about when I want to throw a flat side. So today is a perfect example of when I would throw a flat-sided crankbait. Cold water, I need it to be subtle. Clear water, we are over 3 feet, okay? If I'm over, say, 4 to 5 feet of viz, I'm gonna look at a flat side. Now, I'm not throwing it on a sunny day, but we've got cloud cover. We've got one change. We've got no wind, we've got clear water, we've got cold temperatures. The one change says to me, subtlety, okay? So we've got a possible cranking condition, a hard bait condition. And so I'm gonna pull out those flat-sided, those Shad Raps, all the way up to that DT. I probably ain't gonna go with the Bandit just yet. It's still a little wider wobble. Now let's talk about when we're gonna throw baits like the wiggle wart or baits like the rock crawler. Those baits are when I have 2 or more changes in the situation we have today. So again, if it's bluebird sky, water over 3 feet, visibility, no cover in the water, as you can see, nothing for the fish to get in and hide in. Cover and structure, that's structure. A little bit of cover if you count those rocks, but they're gonna be real small fish if they hiding in that. Nothing I wanna catch. And it's dead slick calm like today, that's when I'm not gonna throw a crankbait at all. I will reach for a wobble head on those days. Crankbait alternative there. Beep-bing. A little bit of what you should do. All that being said, we get 2 changes in this. We get cloud cover. Now we've got cloud cover. We get a little bit of wind, or the water dirties up. We're talking 2 foot less of visibility. Yeah. Now I'm picking up a wart. I'm picking up a rock crawler. Am I gonna, depth does matter. Depth does matter. And speed does matter. If I feel like they're just on crawdads, deeper, so I'm throwing, remember what I always say, if this is 5 foot visibility, I'm fishing from 5 to 15. That's my starting point. So 5 to 15, I'm getting that crankbait out, and if I got a lot of rocks, what I'm gonna do is almost the same way I do a jig. I'm gonna throw it out there. Again, gotta have a condition. I'd like a little bit of chop. Don't have to be a lot, but it needs to be a little, not like this. And I'm gonna throw it out there and I'm gonna crank it down, and when it hits the rocks, I'm just gonna slowly pull my rod to the side and let it count rocks. There you go. That's when you throw each type of crankbait. Now, I'm not big on the whole power fish it during the winter time. I just don't believe that works. I am going to slow roll to a drag, stop drag. That's how I'm going to fish a crankbait during the winter time. Whew, this is what it's like when you're not catching fish, but you are filming about catching fish. Anyway, guys, know that I appreciate you. I hope this helps. I really want to give you guys some more kind of insightful how my mind works when I break down these sort of wintertime conditions, or conditions in general all the time. Like, you know, I'll be honest with you now, I am going to show you, we're going to actually do a video. We can actually break it down even farther. We can do a video on wintertime cranking the flat side, and I can show you when, where, how. You know, don't be afraid to crank a bluff, guys. I'm telling you, it's a killer way to get some big bites. If you got any questions, you know, I know we're not really covering, you know, rod, reel, line specific baits in this, but we're covering kind of the rules, and rules are meant to be broken. There's always the exception to the rule, hence the term exception to the rule. So I could pull up out here, throw something that glows in the dark, fish it at 100 miles an hour, and have the greatest day of my life. But for the most part, I think you'll find if you kind of follow these rules, you're going to catch more fish, okay? And that's kind of what I want to do for you, is I kind of want to give you sort of the thought process of breaking the situations down, breaking the conditions down, okay? Questions, comments in the comment section below. You guys know I love to talk about fishing with you. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you guys click that little bell so you get notifications. 100% Watch Squad, that's the best way to support the channel. If you like what we're doing here, you got to watch, and watch it all. Pretty please, I'm begging. It's free. And as always, you guys rock.